level.
This guy's crazy.
This guy.
What a wild card.
In before he actually does trio
Okay, so
SOS.
yeah, no, seriously, right?
Do I get a statue then in the studio or what?
No, I'll build it for you.
I
With tasteless hair. Now,
and a beard. And the beard.
I do want to point out that Neeb, like, he lost in GSL qualifiers twice to Hurricane. Recently, he hasn't liked PvP. He's felt outclassed by Koreans.
Almost lost to Pro the last WTF.
Yeah, there you have it. That was a 3-2 as well. You're quite right. So Neeb is not feeling 100% on PvP in the new meta of, you know, just making lots of Zealots on 4 bases and stuff. It's not his style.
All right, guys, we are going to go into this match. Neeb versus SOS on the map Acolyte. In bottom left from America, he is
Ting Neeb.
Solid timing as always, Tasteless. I'm so happy to be casting this PvP with you. I think this is going to be an awesome first match of the day. Best of
I'm
5
excited.
on a brand new map as well. On the right top side, the man who has not won one, but 2 BlizzCons.
But no
It
GSLs.
is
Jin Air Green Wings. SOS.
That is true, Tasteless. He has never won.
Wait.
Is he going to go Nexus first over here? Did I see that correctly? That is actually, so this is one of the new maps, Tasteless, and before we really get into it too much,
Yeah.
if people are wondering, like, what can you expect on a map like Acolyte, you can kind of see this as a new Proxima, I'd say, with a pocket
I
expand.
totally agree. It's one of these maps where you can absolutely, you get a quick expand up, but also there's a lot of abusive builds you can do against somebody who does get greedy. It's funny, it's like a map that offers you a free base, but also offers the other player a big opportunity to try to punish it.
Don't you like this little probe standoff? Is like, you know, what if I steal one of your gases when you go Nexus first? It would be very, very hard to defend against Oracles, and SOS is making sure that doesn't happen. Quick, translate for us, Tasteless.
It says, good luck, Neeb. Tasteless is a better caster than Rotterdam, and I thought it was a great sign.
Why are you guys so mean to
I
me
know,
today?
I'm sorry. We're being too meany right off the bat.
I have only been nice to you guys. I'm just happy to be here. I'm feeling like nerd giggles.
You're right. You're right. You know what happens is when I'm around In Control and Artos, it's too much. My jock bro side comes out a little bit too much.
You know, I've got a very big, sensitive heart, Tasteless.
I know.
You can't play with
You're
my
a
feelings
sweet
like
guy.
that.
In this game, though, I got to say, with that little pro block, that was pretty cute. Some people that actually don't play a lot don't realize you can actually deny the gas if you just have the probe interfering with where their gas wants to be planted.
Yep, you have to put it in a hold position as close to the assimilator as possible. I like that as
from
well.
Net Wars.
Yeah,
That's Polish.
He's all the way from Poland,
Yeah.
indeed. He went to a home story cup a couple of times as well. That guy's a real passion lord. Now, what do we think that SOS is going to do here since he went Nexus first? I think Stargate play is very likely. Since I call this the new Proxima, obviously what was very good on Proxima, Mass Phoenix. Well, there you have already the first Stargate go down by Neeb. Neeb is going to have quicker access to that Stargate because he didn't go Nexus first. But SOS, if he goes for his own Stargates, which is absolutely what he does, there's a good chance that eventually SOS can maybe take the lead because he does have a slightly better economy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's kind of funny when we first started seeing both players going Stargates, and you're kind of, as a caster, asking the question, okay, well, where exactly is this supposed to go? And the problem is once you both start going Stargate, sometimes it's hard to stop.
Right? It is. It's like a drug, man. Like once you go
really,
in. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. You can't really pump the brakes and try to switch into something, or it snowballs because the Phoenixes just start lifting everything. So then it escalates sometimes into this epic air battle.
There's actually an Oracle first for Neeb here, which I'm a tiny bit surprised by. Let's see if SOS makes the correct call, which would be a Phoenix, or if he's going to play it safe and go for his own Oracle. He isn't going to go for the Phoenix, so this is not a nice start for Neeb at all. Now, just because you go Oracle, that doesn't mean that there is zero chance you do damage here, because sometimes, you know, Phoenixes do fly to the other side of the map, and that's when you can swing in with the Oracle.
Right.
But once you show the Oracle, it's going to die, because these Phoenixes will never stop hunting.
Yeah, well, definitely have to see, when that first Oracle comes out, what's the second thing to produce in the Stargate. Okay, now, I don't know if I agree with that, just showing the Oracle like that when the element of surprise is so much more important.
I totally agree with you there, especially because this is a map that is very similar to Proxima. And once again, I already said it before the Stargates went down, Proxima, Phoenix versus Phoenix was very, very common. Everybody loved Phoenixes. And at this point, if you go for an Oracle, which I already think is risky for a map where Stargate play is obviously very powerful, and for people wonder, like, why is Stargate so good here? It's mostly the pocket expand, which just makes it so easy for the Phoenix player to expand. But Neeb is kind of telling him, it's like, hey, I've got an Oracle. SOS is like, well, thank you very much for revealing your Oracle. One worker, two worker, but that's it.
Well, now he at least knows what SOS is up to, but I feel like Neeb is already inherently kind of an odd position. He's going to go for Blink here.
Which I don't hate. I mean,
no,
going for Phoenixes right now would be suicidal. I mean, there's no way that you can ever catch up, right?
Yeah, exactly. If he's ahead by even just 2 or 3 Phoenixes, that's a tough road to follow, really. In fact, it'd probably be foolish for him to go that way. But I guess Stalkers with a Blink is a logical response to seeing Phoenixes come out here. The problem is, even though Stalkers are quite mobile, Phoenixes can continue to fly around, just like we're seeing here. And whenever the Stalkers leave the base, the Phoenixes can fly in and actually just kill all the workers and fly out. So it's like a pin technique, basically. You can't leave.
Yep, and it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter if you're Neeb, Stats, Classic, or Zest. You will always end up losing. Now, this could be nice, though. The Oracle swings in while the Phoenixes were on the other side of the map. This is what I would have loved to see him do with that first Oracle, unfortunately.
Okay, this is... Now, the fact that he lost his second Oracle, I don't even think it was wise to send the Oracle over there like that.
I think he was hoping, because he did see the Phoenixes here, and that was like the only chance he ever had in doing some damage. But this is a pretty rough start for Neeb, because SOS is obviously going to produce his own Immortals. One Phoenix did go down there. That is nice, because that means one Phoenix less to regenerate energy and kill more and more workers. But it's just a rough start for Neeb. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, you know, from here, it's a little bit tricky for Neeb. Now, Neeb is trying to bring this game into a direction where he can start to leverage the tech that he's getting, but again, you know, whenever you do anything air-based that is fast like this in StarCraft 2 or StarCraft 1 for that matter, and by the way, Phoenix is the most profound version of this, is that you get freedom to expand and tech up to whatever you want to, while the other guy has to play defense and is probably losing more workers. So you're getting ahead in so many different ways. So this is a tough uphill fight for Neeb.
Absolutely. What I do like, though, is that Neeb went for a much faster third base. He realized that it's unlikely SOS is going to go for any sort of attack after his Phoenix play. So he's like, all right, it's inevitable. I'm going to lose a couple probes. Let's at least make up for that for having quicker 3 Nexus. His own Robo as well. So even though I don't think this was a dream start, this is actually a cool move. He's going to fly in, lift a couple Stalkers, and 2 Stalkers won't kill this Oracle quick enough.
Wow, he's just not quite able to get those workers there. He ended up taking up shields, I believe, on all the probes. Did he get any kills?
Maybe 1, but that was odd. I love the idea. I thought it was an awesome little setup there, but the execution wasn't there by SOS. And SOS didn't really want to commit. He didn't want to end up risking losing his Oracle, knowing that Blink is already out.
Yeah, a really cool play. I guess it just
didn't work out.
It didn't actually do what it was supposed to do, but the idea was definitely really smart, very, very SOS-ish. The thing to do back there. So the Phoenixes continue to roam around the map, and they're going to pick off any stray workers and possibly other stray units that they can find. Neeb has to keep teching continuously. Now, Neeb's done a pretty decent job of matching the supply, despite the abuse SOS is dishing out.
All right, welcome to an SOS game, Tasteless. As right now, I look at the production tab, and I'm just like, so what are you going for? He's getting a Fleet Beacon.
Oh, wow.
So maybe he goes Carriers eventually, but then he also gets the Templar Archives. He already has a Forge. He's getting +1, and he's getting charged, and extra gates. It's like, SOS, make up your mind. You know, all of these things are good, but normally not all at the same time, especially not if you're not on 4 bases yet.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Maybe just a mothership. Maybe he's just going to use the Fleet Beacon for a big mothership, and other than that, just go Archon Immortal Zealot.
I'm always reluctant to try to call what SOS is going to do, other than it's going to be weird. So let's see what direction he wants to take this game. We got to keep in mind the architecture of this map too. There's a lot of areas that are sort of boxy and cagey, so he might try, you know, especially on a map that's kind of taller than it is wide. He might be trying to go for something that's very turtley as well.
Yeah, he's getting the mothership indeed.
We have seen some games where where SOS will just go for a really, really, really long late game and end up with a better unit comp and have a much easier fight than trying to do a lot of these tactical engages where people are trying to fight over a 4th base or a 5th base.
What I do like from Neeb is that he's getting double Forge. If you're both doing the exact same thing, and even though he lost quite a few workers in the Oracles early on, with that faster Nexus, Neeb never felt that far behind. Also because SOS didn't make more Phoenixes, he was happy with 4. I think maybe if he would go up to 5 or 6, he could have done a little bit more economic damage. So this is a very playable game, and then I think going for a faster double Forge, if you're both making the exact same units, upgrades are obviously going to be very, very important.
Okay, this game is going at a pretty slow pace, which means we're going to have a pretty insane fight much later on. The Phoenixes, it seems like that's really started to slow down on how much more harass they can do. Neeb is definitely stabilized. The question is does SOS's ground army have the same kind of muscle to take on the ground army of Neeb? And I think it's fair to say yes, especially with the mothership. coming in here to help that all out.
Yep, the mothership is not even about the damage, it's just it represents so much HP. It's incredibly difficult for just Stalkers to kill this massive unit. I mean, look at the amount of shields, look at the amount of hit points. It takes forever to kill it. Obviously, a feedback would be nice, but if SOS is smart, maybe he could even burn some of that energy before the fight starts. This is going to be hard. Neeb is going to spot it. He does have an Oracle.
Oh,
good blink there.
great
Go for the Oracle.
catch. Actually, that was a good response there, too, just to snap tag those. He's got to be careful not to overextend with these Stalkers. Wow, okay, now, it's good if you get those Phoenixes, but to lose all the Stalkers doesn't make it a really ideal trade.
And now he spots his army as well, and I think Neeb is a little bit worried. That army of SOS looks massive, is massive, and has a mothership. And once again, that mothership, it's not only the cloaking, because there is a defensive Oracle for Neeb, so he could tag that army. It's just the amount of hit points this mothership represents. If you don't have your own, you're going to have a very, very hard time turning this battle around and somehow ending up winning this fight if your name is Neeb.
Okay, it looks like SOS is gearing up to engage. We see Neeb trying to get his army into an ideal position so he can actually take this on. Supplies right now, 179 to 188. SOS looping around with a War Prism. I believe he's going to try to bring this back here and use the rest of his remaining supply to warp in Zealots.
Really good reaction.
Yeah, that was great. Very nicely done by Neeb, but he shuts that down, and I think this may stop the actual main attack from SOS from coming in.
Yep,
It's probably not worth it.
Absolutely. SOS wanted to pull Neeb apart. He wanted to see Neeb send a couple of units towards his natural so he can maybe just jump on the main army of Neeb. Neeb is not doing it. Neeb is only now, though, getting his own fleet beacon. Now, the good thing is, Neeb is going to have an upgrade advantage. His +2 armor is about to be done, while SOS's +2 armor hasn't barely started. It's just like 10 or 15 seconds in. So that is one thing that Neeb is going for himself. But Tasteless, I'm still a little bit worried about that Mama Core versus the real Mama ship.
Mama Core?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, man. I'm not sure exactly where this game's going to go for Neeb. I feel like SOS has seen... He's got the 20/20 vision here. You know what I'm saying? He can see all the way to the end of the game. We also can tell that SOS is actually getting a Dark Shrine. I feel like SOS is getting to the very, very end of the tech, the complete Protoss tech, to actually then have a whole lot more advantages when the skirmishes really begin to pick up.
Yeah, so even though this has been a little bit of a slow game so far, obviously a couple of trades have happened as we see a big Zealot run by, but there's going to be defensive weapons and stuff. Don't think the entire series is going to be like this. It's just mostly Acolyte. It's PvP with a pocket expand. These kind of games are quite common.
I think he's going to go for it, man. I think that with the Zealot warping happening over here, the mothership is actually going to try to dive in. There are Zealots, by the way, north of this screenshot, but Neeb now coming in from behind. This means this army is going to be pinned unless recalled back over here. That was a good place to recall as well with those Zealots there. But there's still Zealots destroying this expansion up here.
Yeah, that's 30 workers. That is more than just a couple. 30 probes down the drain. Obviously, Neeb killed a couple of probes as well, but this is awesome stuff. Right before Neeb is going into carriers, as Neeb is getting his first carriers on the way, he lost 30 workers, and that's kind of painful because he's not that rich. He is building 5 probes at a time, though, so he's going to be able to saturate those bases quite quickly. And now it really gets interesting. Does SOS have any idea that carrier transition is on the way? And when will SOS attack again? If he attacks anytime before 3 carriers, I really prefer SOS's position. But if he lets Neeb go up to 4 or 5 carriers, then I obviously love the position of the American Protoss.
Yeah, certainly. But you have to get there first, right?
Yep.
And that's where we're going to have to wait and see this actually unfold. Now, this style by SOS, which is really good. At this point in time, Protoss can end up with an excess of minerals, and to just dump the minerals out on Zealots that can be targeted for instance, Nexuses that might be mining gas on the other side is a really good way to handle this economically.
The big mothership is on the way for Neeb now as well. You can see that, by the way. SOS is still very rich, and Neeb is spending all of his money. He lost a bunch of probes, and he's going for carriers. I don't think he has Graviton Catapult yet, which is not the very first time. That mothership is a little bit exposed.
Okay, here we go. He's coming in right here, right now, but it looks like SOS may be in a worse position trying to back up. The Time Warp's coming down here, shaving off an Archon. And left over, it's now 160 supply to 192.
Did he have 3 Warp Prisms with his army there? I saw a whole bunch of prisms
I'm
from
not
SOS.
sure, actually.
But I mean, SOS does the cancel on the mothership, which is obviously quite awesome. That is well done. But the carrier count is going up. There is Graviton Catapult as well. +1 air weapons on the way. Tasteless, I feel that Neeb has survived the most dangerous phase of this game. And
I think
from
you're right.
this point on, it might actually get slightly better for the American Protoss.
I think so. And now that we're in the phase where they both have the motherships, it's the mama ship wars right now.
Yeah.
But I think you're correct. If he can tag up into the carriers, he's going to have a much easier way out on this map. again, guys, you want to look at the way this map's structured. It's pretty narrow. It's tall but narrow. So you can actually cover a lot with carriers. There's also a lot of, how do I say this? It's a lot of valleys the carriers can be over on side to side, so you're still in good shape.
Look at that army of SOS. It's an insane amount of Archons, so just 1 or 2 carriers is not really going to be the end. But once again, Archons are good up to a certain point. If the carrier count goes too high, that's where things get very, very gnarly for Neeb. Once again, an awesome Zealot run by into the natural, but a couple of defensive Dark Templars will take care of this. And yes, a few probes die, but I don't think this Nexus is going to fall. And this is all alright, but look at the main army of SOS. SOS, I think, is aware. Carriers are on the way, carriers are out. Tasteless, I think he's about to go for it.
I think he's going to go for it. I
So
think
many
SOS knows
Archons.
he's got to attack in here right now. Now, this is a lot of splash damage. A lot of this is going to come just down to where the Archons are positioned when the fight actually happens. Neeb is arcing out. SOS trying to get a good position. Coming in now.
3 carriers on the side of Neeb. Is 3 carriers enough? It's 13 Archons, though, for SOS.
And you can see as the Archon's getting a worse position here for SOS, he tries to back up using the position of that Nexus in the upper left to make it a little bit more uncomfortable here for Neeb. Zealots warping into the front, but there may be so many Archons in the front, it might not matter here for SOS.
Yeah, I think Neeb should go back. I think Neeb has to sacrifice his base. He needs more interceptors. He only has 3 carriers right now, and all of them were out of interceptors. Obviously, Archons do splash damage on those little bad boys. Neeb needs to buy time. You can't fight with 3 carriers with no interceptors.
You got to keep in mind as well is that because Neeb was going for the carriers, that whoa, that was pretty sick. In this pretty close match, that means that SOS has a lot more gas for those Archons. So he had this moment where he could come in there and really do a lot of damage. And this DT, double DT rush, coming in here. Let's see if he can get any workers, or he's just going to go for the pylons, it looks like.
Yeah, it's just to be annoying as well, right?
Yeah.
It buys a little bit of time. At the same time, SOS is getting his own Stargates up on the other side of the map. But I would like to see Neeb, as soon as he has like 5-6 carriers, he's not building any more carriers, which I'm a tiny bit sad about, because 3 is nice, but I feel the moment you have like 5 or 6, that's where Archons really start struggling in dealing with carriers.
Okay, we have another warp in coming in, and it looks like SOS may try to re-engage. Important to note that SOS is not going to go for a harass with engage, because he just used up that supply. Sometimes in PvP we see players float at 180, and then they get a warp prism in there and they use that last set of supply to warp in Zealots somewhere else, and they want to try to disjoint the main army, and then you end up with a better setup.
This base is in a lot of trouble. If I was Neeb, I would just let it die this time, because that is a massive army, and with only 3 carries, it's not going to be enough. You know what I'm a little bit surprised by, Tasteless?
What?
That we don't have plasma shields on either side with this
That's
many
actually
Archons.
true. We're at that point in the game where you might as well just get every upgrade for everything. By the way, something I really want to point out is super important. Since this is a game where we might have the map split, take a look at the mini-map in the bottom right. He's taken an expansion. He's taking an expansion down there, and he's going to try to suck up all of the resources so that if this goes to a later game and Neeb does try to go down there, then he will manage Neeb will find out that he doesn't have enough minerals over there. And this is a huge warp in right here. Let's see if he can disposition SOS.
Oh, Neeb only recalled half of his army there, Tasteless. I thought that Neeb was going to set up an awesome sandwich there. I was really feeling it, but in the end, the double warp prism pulled Neeb out of position. Now he's going to recall again. He recalls back to this base. These plays, Tasteless, this is insane. What are they doing?
It's pretty cool to see this chess game they're playing where they're trying to just out-position each other constantly. Neeb seems to now be moving out, perhaps itching to try to engage SOS here. SOS is actually looping around. Now, with this position the carriers are at, they can be a little bit more abusive. And I feel like SOS may actually have to try to teleport back home because, yeah, there's no other way he can be in that position.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. That was a good move by SOS. He's getting his own carriers on the other side of the map. He's building carriers and getting another fleet beacon. Now, that's a bold strategy, Calvin. Let's see how that plays out for him. But I guess he's just even SOS is struggling right now with how hectic this game is becoming. But he does get another Nexus, and that's obviously awesome.
I feel like slowly but surely SOS can win this game as long as he can hold up this one attack. Neeb really needs to come in here and do the damage right now because SOS's harass is really slowing down everything that Neeb is trying to do.
But this army of Neeb is insane. He's got so many Archons, he's got carriers. There are a lot of Zealots though in the main base of Neeb, so you make a very good point. Neeb needs to do a lot more than just pick up a single Nexus, and he's on the hunt, he's on the chase. Where did that army go of SOS? SOS is starting a base trade?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what's happening. The only problem right now, though, for SOS is his army is by far inferior compared to what Neeb has. Neeb is moving around with this death ball that basically, if the armies ever do collide, Neeb should, no matter what, win.
Yep, Neeb just recalled. He wants to protect his one base. SOS took a secret base on the right bottom side, and that base could become very, very important.
It's funny because we were talking about that bottom right base and how if the map gets cut in half, then maybe SOS can get an advantage by mining that location out. But now in a base trade, that bottom right location, that may not be scouted the whole game, which may completely screw up Neeb's decision making.
Yep, in a game like this, I honestly don't think you worry about a base in the right bottom side. These Dark Templars are making Neeb's life a little bit easier though in cleaning it up. Neeb spots the carriers of SOS now, and now I truly wonder, what are you going to do? Does get a decent revelation off. I feel like the Immortals of SOS are a tiny bit useless now, right? Because it's just pure Archon.
Oh yeah, that's actually a really good point, Roddy. The Immortals don't have a real function here.
But I think the longer that Neeb waits, the more carriers SOS is going to have. This game is madness. I have no idea.
Yeah, this is possibly one of the most epic PvPs I've ever casted. We don't normally get to this point in time. But to go back to what you were saying, Roddy, I think you're right that with Immortals having no function, whoever has more Immortals is actually kind of in a bad position.
Yeah,
when
that sounds weird.
It sounds weird to say, but I think that's actually the case.
Yeah, obviously they do a little bit of damage to the Archons, so it's not like they're useless, but there are better units to have. Archons and carriers. It's very important for Neeb that he gets on top of the production here of SOS, because the longer he waits, right now SOS I think has 4 carriers, but if SOS gets up to like 7 or 8 carriers, then I really don't think how Neeb is supposed to win with an inferior economy and not being aware of the hidden base in the right bottom side of the map.
Okay, so SOS is moving in again. The mothership does have energy. I think this is he going to go back to this Nexus? I think he's actually going to sack this Nexus, which means Neeb's not actually mining from anywhere. Neeb's minerals currently at 300, by the way.
Yep, well, I mean, he's getting on top of all the Stargates, so this is nice, though. I do like that Neeb recognized that as well, as realizing, like, okay, I got to do it now, otherwise this will only get worse. Is Neeb going to recall to one of these 2 bases? You know what I'd love to see, Tasteless? Why don't they get, like, 1 High Templar to feed back the mothership?
Ooh, you're so smart. I don't know why we didn't think of that. Yeah, that would be huge, just to get that up and delay.
And you can actually force a fight. Your opponent doesn't want to have. He did use the recall in the natural.
Here we go. The Archons are here. He's trying to chase this down. The carrier's bunched up. If the Archons get to their splash under there, it's going to be a lot of additional damage. He manages to escape and goes to the bottom right location. Now, this is the only mining location, I believe, on the map. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, I think well, there is still that one base, but Neeb had probes there, and he was just like, hey, you recalled, but you didn't recall to the base where my probes were. So I think Neeb has now picked up on the fact there must be a hidden base. And Neeb is on the chase. He loves his army. He feels like his army is a lot more powerful. And he's going to try to end it right here, right now.
SOS has to hold this position unless we get into the race where they're trying to wipe out each other's buildings. Neeb, where's he going? Neeb's going north. Does he not know? Oh, no, he knows. He knows. Okay. All right, he's off the hook, guys. Never mind.
He doesn't want to go up the ramp.
He doesn't want to go up there yet. The problem is that really the base at the bottom right might be the most important.
It's 15 Archons for Neeb against 5 Archons of SOS. Now, SOS does have more carriers, 5 against 3, but can that like somehow overcome 15 Archons?
I'm not actually sure how this works with Interceptors and Archons together.
Yeah,
like, I'm not actually... I don't get to cast a lot of games exactly like this, but let's see what happens. Again, the rest of the army is Immortals. Keep in mind, I don't believe either player really has a lot of warp-in options here. Neeb actually supply blocked and not making any money, so Neeb has to make this army work. This is basically it.
SOS actually does have quite a bit of money, but he doesn't have any production to spend it. Look at the Interceptors. A lot of them go down almost immediately. That is so many Archons.
Completely vaporized the Interceptors. You can see they're remaking right now, but basically those carriers are paperweights.
Yeah, but you got to be careful as Neeb as well. I feel like you have to be a tiny bit more decisive. Now Neeb is trying to let his own Interceptors do the job.
So Neeb's trying to push in. He just has to have the Interceptors hit with the Archons or not. I mean, right now it looks like there's a bunch of cotton balls for Neeb's army. If he could just keep the Archons kind of underneath everything, then they can hit the Interceptors. But he's got to be careful. There are still pylon cannons that can be used here.
And real cannons there as well, quite a few.
Oh,
this is so close, Stasis, because with 5 carriers, if these 5 carriers go up to 4 Interceptors for SOS, then I actually believe that SOS can maybe hold, despite the fact that he was down 10 Archons.
I think he wants to try to shave off Archons one by one. It's just very tough to do. And you can see just the way that everything is positioned, everything from the gateways to the pylons, the nexus, where the mothership is, where the carriers is pretty well set up here for SOS. I'm not sure who wins this fight.
Well, with the way that these Archons are spread out now, I actually think that's quite good for SOS. All the cannons are going to help out a little bit as well, but can he keep the interceptor count high enough? His own Archons are not doing much, though, on the south side.
Well, the Archons are all bunched up down here in the bottom center, but it looks like as far as the Archon fight goes, it does look like Neeb may come out on top. SOS now retreating with those carriers. By the way, quick note, SOS expanded to the upper left. I'm not sure if it's going to be a factor, but I want to point out this is not the only remaining base.
These Archons of Neeb have been doing so much work. Another Rico is going to get used, but obviously this was a victory for Neeb. Wow.
But again, remember, Neeb is not mining. Neeb only has this army. This is the slowest game of whack-a-mole I've ever seen. But if Neeb can get up here to the top left, oh, wait a minute.
He's going to try to base trade,
Yeah, he's going to try to base trade him.
I think SOS is like, all right, I'm not going to kill that army ever, even though I've got 2,500 gas. If only he still had gateways and Templar Archives, he could have so many Archons if he would get a few extra minerals as well.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, there is long-distance mining, just no base here for Neeb. So, Neeb is actually doing a really good job about where he's headed exactly over here. He comes up, he sees where that army is. Now, how many other pylons are there on the map? I guess Neeb did still leave some bases there, in the some pylons in the bottom right. Remember, the conditions for winning or losing is you have to destroy all your opponent's buildings. We rarely get to that point, but this may be one of those moments.
No, actually, this is SOS's game plan now. You're spot on, because he's like, all right, I'm not going to kill that army. He's got too many Archons. Now, this is maybe a chance for SOS, because it's 5 carriers against 3.
I think he should have just sent the Zealots.
Yeah.
I mean, the Zealots have no functional role here. But sending the Archons, too, I feel like is a little bit risky.
So there's 5 Archons left now in the main army. He's going to jump on top of these Archons. If he can kill these Archons, one carrier might go down, though. Is he going to be able to save the carrier?
He gets one. But there's no observer here, so he actually cannot see the Nexus. So he has to back up.
Still a decent trade there, I think. 2 Archons for 1 carrier. That's a trade I'm absolutely willing to
GG!
make.
SOS taps out. Neeb wins game number 1.
Wow, what a sick game, Tasteless. Neeb.
Wow, we got up to a very good start here. I can't believe how awesome that PvP was.
So many things happened. This is one of these games where if somebody asks you how was Neeb against SOS game 1, it's like, all right, you want to get some coffee or something? Because it's going to take a while to summon this game up.
I get some popcorn more like. That was such a good game. And it was really cool to see when you get that late in PvP with 2 of the best PvP players of all time, how they try to balance Archons versus carries. I mean, we don't get to see that very often, but it's really cool to see that, yeah, if there's enough Archons together, the interceptors melt. But at the same time, Archons don't have a lot of range, so you need these carriers to poke and, of course, control the mothership perfectly. So that was something else.
Absolutely. And also Neeb, you know, he had much earlier carriers. I was like, you know, is he going to go up to 4, 5, 6, 7 carriers? No. This was a very conscious decision by Neeb. He said, I have 3 carriers, faster than my opponent, and now I will only get Archons. But SOS clearly wanted to get more and more and more carriers. Neeb said, no, my Archons are going to take care of the interceptors. This is going to be all right. 3 carriers is all I need. Just some great decision-making by Neeb late game. And don't forget how this game started. An Oracle opening against the Phoenix. That's never good, Tasteless. But Neeb turned it around. Neeb's take game number 1 against SOS. And that was just an awesome game of starting.
Let's see how they do in game number 2. Down here in the bottom right with a 1-0 lead from the USA, he is
Ting Neeb.
Showing some great understanding of mid-late game PvP in the previous map.
Yeah.
Beautiful army composition as well. At any given moment in the game, Neeb is here for the business as he's going up against this man, the man who won 2 BlizzCons. It is
Jin Air Green Wings, SOS.
Man, if Neeb takes this, it's going to be so good.
Could be a nice confidence booster for the other foreigners later today as well.
That, and also you got to remember that SOS never wins GSL, so. I mean, and Neeb is one of those guys who's won a Korean tournament, so all signs point to yes so far. I don't believe we're going to have a game that's going to go as long as that last one or look like that. That was really a snowflake of a game.
And it has a lot to do with the way that the maps are designed, right? In the early days, I always thought, like, why people talk so much about maps, you know? Like, in Warcraft 3, I understood, but in StarCraft 2, and then obviously the more you understand about StarCraft, you realize that certain builds are just perfect for a certain map.
Right, yeah.
And
like
obviously,
mass Phoenixes with these Pocket Expo bases.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
And that just makes so much sense, you know? You want to open up with Stargate, you want to maybe even go Nexus first, which is a little uncharacteristic or uncommon for PvP or even for SOS in particular. A map like Ascension to Ire, you're going to get a very different type of game. I think this is the type of map which is mostly suited for perhaps the most popular meta right now, which is where you often only stay at like 4 gas, and you just get a lot of gateways, you get a lot of zealots, you get a lot of blink stalkers, and you just kind of play like a swarmy style of Protoss.
I gotta say, man, I'm so hyped for Neeb to win this, man. Yesterday, the only foreigners that made it through were the ones that played other foreigners. So I think we got a really good shot of him doing it here. I totally agree with everything you were saying, Roddy. I feel like one thing that Neeb has an edge on here. Whoa, what? Whoa.
He's angry.
Yeah. You will not get out of my base. I will have one more probe this game. No, but one thing to keep in mind is that, you know, when we saw Neeb win his very first Korean tournament, he had a pretty like defensive, safe way of playing. He even said in his interview, he's like, I'm a little bit greedy, but it seems like nobody was willing to go in there and punish me. But most of those games were won within like 10, 12 minutes. It's crazy that he actually played a safe, long game like that last one and actually got all the way to the end and had the proper answer to the 2-time world champion.
Yep. I was kind of wondering, like, SOS with his super fast Twilight, SOS is playing a very greedy style of Protoss here himself. He went for a super fast expand, he even burned a Photon Overcharge just to kill a worker, then dropped his own quick Nexus, pretends like everything is normal, but things are not normal, Tasteless. That's a very fast Dark Shrine. Stargate opening for Neeb as well. If Neeb can see SOS just one time slip up with the wall of here, if these Adepts can make their way into the main base, but that will not happen.
Yep, they'll bounce right off there. Very good response by SOS. Let's see
that's
how
a big
ready.
tell.
Yep.
Very, very big tell here.
Yeah.
To find a probe, suddenly like, what are you doing? You got a pylon somewhere here, mate.
Yeah, what exactly are you up to? Why would you do that early on in the game? You know, you don't have to see the Dark Shrine to have a lot of other things that can indicate, okay, something's up. And again, you know, one thing about the DTs is, at least for the initial attack with the DTs, it's sort of hinged on the hopes that they don't have detection in time.
Or it's not in place.
Right, exactly. And then the other thing is, if you get the DTs and the game's continuing on, you can use them to run inside the base whenever the other player leaves.
Now, the funny thing is that probe that just got picked off actually didn't drop a pylon yet. So SOS had to send out a Neil probe. He did get a pylon. Now, it's obviously a little bit later because this, you know, there could have already been a couple of Dark Templars being wiped in. Just now, the robotics facility is wiped in for Neeb. Now, obviously, it's still going to take a while before these DTs, after the slow warping, show up. But Neeb kind of needs to keep this Oracle at home. If he doesn't keep the Oracle at home, and imagine in a worse world where he uses Pulsar Beam for something else, Neeb could get in a lot of trouble.
Okay, he's also getting one Observer. I believe the Observer will just barely not be out in time.
That is SOS's Observer.
Oh, I'm sorry. What am I talking about? Yeah, that's actually... Then, yeah, you're right. The Oracle is the only thing that he can actually use here. Okay, here we go. Now, will he get a force field to possibly bounce it off the ramp? He's not looking.
This is bad. I mean, did he use the Oracle? Yeah, he has a couple of Adepts in the main, so that's nice. But you gotta defend against Dark Templars. They kill workers faster than almost anything else in the game. So far, Neeb killing 6 probes with his Adepts on the other side of the map. That's nice.
Oh,
good
that was
force
so
fields.
sick. That was so good. Look at that.
Yeah, but also look at the lost mining time, though. God, these Adepts are doing almost as much as the DTs.
That's what's so weird about it, right? Is that if you look at the Adepts, they were just as effective with the DTs.
Wow. I'm so impressed with Neeb right now. That was sick. I have no idea how he killed 9 probes with 2 Adepts that are obviously visible and only lost 9 probes at home against 2 DTs in 2 different locations while not having detection in place? Are you kidding me, Tasteless?
It's so crazy. I am so impressed with that force field that basically locked the DTs out. You know, when you get DTs in their base, you are on a clock. You need to do as much damage as quickly as possible because they will have an answer. And Neeb handled that about as well as he possibly could have. And the fact that it was an even trade, I feel like Neeb's in a very good spot.
There are very few Protosses who would have defended that well as Neeb just did while focusing on the defense. And Neeb was actually focusing on offense at the same time. He was killing a bunch of workers on the other side of the map. And after all of this, Neeb has a work account. Now, one more Dark Templar did sneak into the main base. There is an Observer here. Can the DT make it out? No, it cannot. So that's 1 Dark Templar for 3 probes. Not that bad for the American Protoss. He's going to get an own defensive Phoenix to shut down this Prism. I'm amazed. That was super, super high level play by Neeb. Of course, he lost mining time and stuff like that. But the fact that he only lost, and I say only, 9 workers against 2 DTs, not detection in place, and still killing 9 probes on the other side of the map, that is very, very, very impressive.
Coming in here with a tag. Looks like this DT will be chased out as Neeb will be taking the 3rd. A little bit behind where SOS is. I got to say, these guys are so evenly matched. It is important to note that we do see Neeb getting +1 attack, and the Fortunately just now finishing up here for SOS. So if we're going to have a pretty big fight coming up, it's going to be a little bit tougher for SOS, depending on the unit composition.
The Oracle did spot the Prism there, so maybe that Phoenix can start chasing it down, and that would obviously be a very nice pick-off. Prisms are very important. Now, in this phase in the game, after all that craziness we just saw with these DTs from SOS, I'm expecting things to go into a kind of normal route. Both players going to get blinked, both players going to get charged, both players will get a lot of gateways and probably rush up to 4 bases as soon as they're happy with their 3-base saturation. Obviously, sometimes players will try to end it on 3 bases. Okay, SOS is getting glaives, which is different than what I expected. A lot of people prefer charge these days. Glaives, it spices things up a little bit, Tasteless.
It does. Legs over here for Neeb, though, going I think a more standard route. We are having the Gateway Explosion kick in now.
Yeah.
Both these guys are in a tech race. Basically, they're basically in a PvP. There's a point in time after the early game where it's pretty much impossible to attack each other that effectively unless it's a harass. And so we may see them tech up further before they actually have any more real engagements.
But I think that SOS is going to be the aggressor here with all of
is he
his
just going to
adepts.
push out now?
Yeah, I think he's
I
gonna
guess
use
right
that
when his
Prism.
gateway is finished. This is a little bit sooner than I expect.
It is, and I
but
think it's sooner than Neeb expects as well. But if he spots it in time, then it could work out perfectly. The Oracle's going to fly in here, get a couple of probes, and this is very nice against a relatively low economy SOS, as he was already down a few workers. This is going to be kind of difficult to hold, though.
Okay, wait. SOS has Blink. Neeb does not. Am I correct on this? Or does Neeb? Neeb's charge is going to be finishing up in 10 seconds, which would be handy.
Neeb definitely has Blink.
Neeb definitely has Blink. Okay, I'm crazy. I thought it might be a weird timing here from SOS. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. Like, is he going to be able to actually get in here and do this damage? He's warping in. He's getting some Archons.
The Immortal spots his army, and it's like, oh my god, that is a lot of
I gotta get back
adepts.
and tell Captain Neeb.
Yep. What can he get now, though? Sentries are not going to keep this army away. He's going to maybe drop a stasis. That would be sick, because there is an observer in the mix as well, though. This is hard, though, because you have Zealots. Zealots are cool, but this many Adepts, they will shred through those Zealots.
Okay, he's coming up. More Warpins here on the low ground. SOS looking for an opening. Neeb is, I like this, setting up a little trap here to try to freeze some of that army. Okay, the Adepts are shading in, trying to get premium position here.
Does he have some sort of a wall up? No, he doesn't. If I was, I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of those Adepts finish up. But it's very important that Neeb spotted his army and he reacted in time. He's not surprised. The more time goes by, the more this Adept army of SOS will fall off. And the Archon Immortal army of Neeb is going to get more powerful with each passing second.
I really like what you said there, Roddy. Hold on, is he actually going to do this one now?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, these the Adepts do not have a lot of equity later on in the game, so he has to do damage right away. Good targeting here on these Archons.
Yeah, one of them survives with very little HP, but the other one did go down, though. And I kind of like this move already, because you need to find a purpose for all of these Adepts. He's pulling more units out of position, and he's also striking in the north.
Yeah, you could see he was looking to get in there. Actually, I have to say, Neeb's had been very calm through this entire attack, and these actually didn't really do that much.
Oh!
Neeb is on fire. Look at this. Right now, he's basically deflecting everything that SOS has tried to do. By the way, can we just point out how calm he was when those Adepts came into the main?
With the cannon there as well.
Yeah.
He's
He's like, okay, just stay calm. I got this.
A few more Adepts going to go down. Look at that Prism. It's taking a little bit of damage as well. All of these Adepts are going to get sandwiched by these Zealots and Archons of Neeb.
Oh, man. He completely took that out. And I think SOS actually has to leave.
Oh, the Prism goes down as well. Now he definitely has to leave.
Now, keep in mind, the Immortals and the Archons are a little bit clunkier. Sometimes you can get them in a chase. But SOS, once again, decides to dive back in here with his Adepts.
SOS is just so YOLO right now. He wants to do more economic damage. He's not happy with the damage he's done so far. Good overcharge, though. Good pylon placement as well. A few probes will go down. But Neeb has killed so many Adepts in the last few minutes of this game.
And you know what? That was not enough probes. That was not enough probes that he killed. Neeb is beginning to bite back. This is such an interesting game because Neeb has really been the more patient player, the more orthodox player, the more textbook. This is the proper way to play the game. Protoss, and it's starting to pay off. Neeb's counter push may end up winning.
Absolutely. I mean, Neeb is just avoiding every punch that SOS is throwing at him. Neeb has sick movement, sick defense. He actually didn't have Blink, but he's getting Blink right now. That's why he had charged so fast. And he had that many Archons, I guess, because he needed the gas for the Archons. But the defense by Neeb was impeccable. He just defended all the Adept attacks, had a good stasis, had good vision of the army, and he barely lost any probes. This is some really, really high-level play by Neeb in this series so far.
Okay, another great force field here, boxing this in. making a fool out of SOS for ever daring to make these attempts, Roddy.
One will get out, but that's awesome. Where did that sentry even come from? Who has a sentry
He
there?
let that one live. He's like, send that back to SOS's base with a message.
Never come for my probes.
That's right. So, Neeb is, I think Neeb is basically patiently getting set up to try to come in here and finish off SOS. SOS tried this, this tech that can be kind of stable in the mid game, but doesn't pay off if you have to stay on it for too long.
I'd like to see a few more stalkers from Neeb, just to maybe pick off like a Prism that's far away, because he does have Blink now. But other than that, Neeb is just in the driver's seat of this game. He's got +2 attack done, +3 is on the way. He's getting a fleet beacon.
Now, if he breaks this expansion, he gets the bottom expansion for free, and the game's basically over. Dude, where is the rest of SOS's army? He's coming down here now.
But that army's not powerful enough.
Everywhere you look, it's just
Are
not.
those slow zealots? Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Charge is not even done yet for SOS.
Oh my God. I think you can see Neeb really erring on the side of caution here, because he knows if he wins this, I mean, he could probably win one of the next 3 games and be in a pretty good position.
This is nice harass though with the adepts. I do like that. But Neeb, you can just go for the fort base. You don't have to go for the turret. But he's like, no, I can actually kill this army, and I'm going to try to kill this army. Charge is still not done yet for
There's
SOS.
still more Archons coming in here. Great force fields. The supply count is 180 for Neeb, 100 for SOS. As Neeb, it looks like, is going to win this game. That has Neeb as a 2-0 lead over SOS. GG. Or should I say Neeb?
Neeb.
Maybe that's what we say now.
Nah,
that was really sick, man.
If you talk about solid,
oh my God.
Like if you look up solid in the dictionary, you find Neeb SOS game 2 there. That was incredibly well played by the American Protoss. He's looking good, and this is awesome to see. Obviously, Neeb has had a sick year so far, with winning both in Yon Chopping and Austin. But he also had a couple of shaky series lately, and he's not really oozing confidence when you speak to him. But damn, is he playing good
well, he's
today.
a bit of a shy guy, but at the end of the day, our metric for how good he is not how shy or confident he is. When you look at the game, I'm like, oh, Neeb, you know exactly what you're doing. And it's funny because, you know, SOS does these crazy strats and it usually pays off, but the fact that he's doing these pretty brainy, sneaky strats and it's not paying off, Neeb's looking at that and like, oh, no, because if you do that, I just respond with this and I'm going to be ahead later. Cut that shit out, SOS. He's completely shutting him down. How is SOS going to play this time? I'm not entirely sure. On Abyssal Reef?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a map where it's a little bit hard to pull some sort of Zealot style off as well, because there's so many choke points. But, you know, I just want to say one more time that early game defense by Neeb against the 2 DTs, while only losing the same amount of probes as he kills on the other side of the map with 2 adepts. I mean, obviously there's somebody going to be out there who's like, well, SOS could have handled that better. Maybe, but Neeb still did an absolutely amazing job.
Very true, very true. In the upper left, with a 2-0 lead from the USA, he is
Ting Neeb.
Ting Neeb.
So good today, so good. Showing us why he is the #1 player of the WCS circuit this year. On the right bottom side, looking in the main base of the Korean Protoss, he is down 0-2. Can he turn it around?
Jin Air Green Wings. SOS.
SOS in a really awkward position so far. We've had so much Korean dominance, obviously, throughout all of StarCraft's history, but here in the GSL versus the world as well. But Neeb is turning this on its head. And honestly, I always do feel like SOS, throughout the last several years, you could always say at any given point in time is one of the best players in the world, you know?
He's always out there, he's always grinding, he always has a good run when you perhaps least expect it. But this has not truly been the year of SOS yet, but still, nobody would ever count him out to suddenly just show up and win a tournament like this.
Yeah.
But right now, Tasteless, I'm not counting him totally out yet, but I'm not giving him too many seconds either, because he's in a lot of trouble against a Neeb that is absolutely on fire.
Now, if there's anybody that can come back 3-0, it's definitely SOS. I just feel like, I'm not sure if it's that SOS needs to alter his style. We've got some Neeb support here in the studio. I'm actually sure pretty much.
Well, the funny thing is, though, Tasteless, why you say that, it's like both games, I feel on paper, if you present that to a lot of the Protoss professionals, you know, one guy opens Oracle, the other guy opens Phoenix, who do you prefer? Everybody will say, obviously, the Phoenix. Game number 2.
Yeah, we were saying the same thing.
Yeah, and game number 2, you have 2 Dark Templars running into your opponent's base. They open up with a Stargate, while the Oracles on the other side of the map, which position you prefer. Everybody is once again going to say SOS. It's just Neeb's execution today. It's just on a whole nother level. He's in a rough spots, but he turns it around, and that is super impressive.
I think, you know, if you had to highlight one thing about Neeb, I think it's patience. He is just so calm. Like, when we saw those adepts in Game 2 shade in, that was like 13 adepts, I believe, right? And it was completely set up to dislodge most of the army of Neeb, and then SOS was going to strike from the top, and most people fall apart. I mean, 13 adepts is a lot. Neeb so patiently microed that, and then eventually just pulled back and locked those adepts in between the natural and the main, where they couldn't really do anything, because they really just want to kill probes, right? If they're hitting like gateways and pylons, you don't really care. And then he deflected SOS at the top. I mean, most people panic, especially in a big televised match like this, and Neeb just completely reacts.
And not just that, then also the follow-up with that one stasis when those 12 adepts try to get out of there. It's like, oh my god, you're just on fire. Now, once again, on paper, a perfect opening here for SOS. It's Stargate against Stargate, while Neeb is going with the Oracle, SOS is going with the Phoenix. You know, if I was SOS right now, right, I'd be like, all right, obviously make sure that you know you're playing against an Oracle, kill it with the Phoenix, make 5-6 Phoenix, don't make only 4 like you did on Acolyte, then go for a quick Robo, and then just make Phoenix Immortal and try to apply some serious pressure to Neeb. I feel like that would be SOS's best game plan, but let's see where he takes it.
Okay, we have the Adepts of SOS coming out again. Neeb's Robo is on the way. Once again, SOS leading on Phoenix style, at least to start things off. And Neeb going for the Oracle again.
Yep,
so.
It's double Oracle even. Like, I wonder if Neeb would ever cancel the second Oracle. Where are your Phoenixes, SOS? You cannot afford to lose too many probes here. That was good, actually. He had an overcharge in the natural, and the Phoenix is going to kill the Oracle. Well done. Very well done.
Nicely played there by SOS. So far, SOS's Adepts. They've killed 2 probes. It looks like they should be able to get just a few more here. Actually, I think he just zones him out entirely.
Yeah, I think the 2 probes that died were on SOS's side against the Oracle. I don't think the Adepts really killed anything. So
you're completely right. I'm sorry. I'm actually misreading our tabs here. Still nicely done. Shuts that down.
Yeah. I mean, Neeb is now again 5 workers ahead, which it almost makes no sense. Like, he opens up with an Oracle against the Phoenix. Now, obviously, he did kill 2 probes, and you know, once again with the Adepts, just got some work done. Excellent play again by Neeb. I'm incredibly impressed by the level of play that he's showing us today. His 1 Adept is going to spot these 2 Adepts from SOS. Where is he going to take it, Tasteless?
I don't know, Roddy. Let's see. Both these guys, by the way, with really solid movement patterns. You know, it's really fun to watch their armies try to rotate around each other.
This is a really important scout here for SOS. SOS kept the Phoenixes at home because he wants to see if there is another Oracle. Because what he didn't want is send the Phoenixes to the other side of the map. You kill 2 workers, you think you're doing a good job. Then the Oracle shows up in your main and kills 5 probes. And you're like, oh my god, that shouldn't have happened. So good play there by SOS. Kept the Phoenixes at home and spots that there is another Oracle out on the map.
Okay. As this game continues on, by the way, this is starting to size up to look perhaps somewhat like Game 1. I don't know, at least for how far Game 1 went along. Yeah. This could look a little bit like that later on, minus the massive amount of Phoenixes we see here. But, I find it hard to call this a lead for anybody just yet. We can really only remark that there's sort of different tech patterns coming up here.
Yep, I mean, Neeb does have quicker blink, and Neeb has been 6, 7, 8 workers ahead, which is quite a few, though. I mean, you know, if they're like it's 60 against 68, I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal. But 41 against 48, that turns into a pretty sizable lead. But don't forget that the Phoenixes of SOS can still do some work, so they can even things up. But I feel the longer you wait, the less impactful your Phoenix harass is going to be. And he already waited quite some time because he's so desperate in sniping Oracle number 2. But Neeb is just not giving it to him.
Okay, Phoenix is once again going to try to poke in here. We do have Stalkers. The blink's not quite done yet. This may be one of the last moments the Phoenixes can come in and do a legitimate damage without being really punished.
A lot of overcharges, though.
Yep. Okay, he's going to come in. Overcharges completely activated. He does not, however, get any of the 3 Phoenixes, only bruising them.
Fast Fleet Deacon again for SOS, so you're right. Very similar to Acolyte. He's probably going to rush up to the Mothership once again. But other than that, just make Archons and Immortals. And don't forget, SOS got himself in a brilliant position on Acolyte. That was an incredibly well-played game for him.
It was just that Neeb basically outlasted that good position that he had. In all these games, SOS is the first guy to get into a really good spot and basically have it. Like, on paper, he has an advantage. But Neeb just outlasts that, and as Neeb's tech develops further onward, then you realize, okay, well now Neeb's basically in a better position. You'll see SOS wiggle out of that, and then Neeb's once again in a better position.
Yep. We've got a little bit of a skirmish here with Stalkers against one Immortal, but that's a hard fight to take. At the same time, there is an Adept being very annoying here. The Adept got 1 kill, I believe, already, and that is number 2. A couple of Immortals doing some work. Once again, SOS is playing solid in this phase in the game. He's really making a lot of correct decisions. He's not messing up, any big micro errors whatsoever. So we're heading towards that mama ship phase of the game, with SOS in a decent spot, despite the fact that he was outmined a little bit in the beginning. But can he actually capitalize on any sort of lead he might create for himself with the tag advantage that he has?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Curious. Oh, hold up.
He's burning.
That's so funny. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get feedback.
Yeah,
he knows there's Temple Archives out already.
That's right. Okay, so in case you have not seen that before, that was intentional. But yeah, he's trying to drain the energy from the Phoenixes. Because feedback is a threat. That was funny.
Yeah, it's a good move though. The last thing you ever want to do is like, you fly into a prism, you're like, oh cool, free prism, and then 2 High Templars show up, it's like FFF, and all your Phoenixes die.
Yeah,
like, oh my
everything
god.
in the air just explodes.
I've got baited! And it's like, no. So well done there. It's the small things, but you can see SOS understanding the importance of these Phoenixes in like shutting down prisms and stuff. He feedbacks a hallucinated Phoenix. It's interesting use of the energy. But it doesn't really matter because he's morphing it into Archons anyway.
So, on this map at PvP, you can pretty much always get a 4th base.
Yep.
A lot of times in certain maps in PvP, the 4th base is like the point of contention. But on this map, I mean, they still might be fighting, but it's not like the 4th base is so far out that it's hard to get. You basically, it's grandfathered in after the 3rd base.
You know, something that might be worth talking about is there might be a couple of viewers out there watching these games and wondering, like, why aren't they building any disruptors? This makes no sense to me. Disruptors are so powerful, and they are. Nobody would ever say that disruptors are not powerful, but these guys, they play at such a high level that if one person actually wants to go into double robo and disruptors, right before he has the critical amount, there's a good chance your opponent shoves 180 supply of Archon Immortal, a Zealot into your face, and you will straight up die.
Yeah.
Or they will create such a big map control advantage lead for themselves that they go double Stargate, they make 8 Phoenix, and then they still lift up your disruptors. So disruptors are still powerful, everybody will say they're powerful, but these guys are just so good in killing each other before the critical amount of disruptors is out that it's just not really an option when these players of this caliber go up against each other.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about that too, but I want to see if is this Immortal drop going to happen right now?
Yeah,
I think we saw the Warp Prism there at the top. The Immortals end up in a kind of a funny spot at this phase of the game because Stalkers aren't the primary threat. A lot of times you want to get those Immortals to like zone out Stalkers.
Yep, and also he's going to like drop the Immortals, warp in 12 Zealots, pull the army out of position and try to kill the fort.
Yeah. He's going to come in here now. Immortal drop with the Warp in, doing a lot of damage here to Neeb's main. Now, we've seen Neeb hold stuff like this up before. Can he do it this time around? SOS pushing in and trying to take out that 4th base.
A couple of overcharges are being used, though. I mean, it's a lot of Archons there in the mix for SOS, but with the overcharges, maybe Neeb can hold this line. It's quite difficult, as it feels like SOS army was just quite a bit bigger. Neeb needs to pull those probes away. He's also doing damage, though, on the other side of the map. Tasteless.
Hey, we can see now, the Archons are actually all very low on shields here, not HP. And if they get hit once or twice, they die. They don't really have HP. He goes back out, and when it's all said and done, it's SOS knocking Neeb onto 3 bases, while SOS is on 4. That being said, though, the worker count's basically even, and their supply for a little bit was even, although it seems like SOS boosted that up.
No,
but unload.
No, you're spot on, but Neeb has a little bit of money, and Neeb's got the upgrade advantage. Losing the Nexus is a very big deal, but Neeb's army is technically quite a bit more powerful than the army of SOS. If SOS is out of position, there is a good chance here that Neeb could strike, but SOS does spot on it. He's going to move back with pylons.
Okay, this is not a bad spot here for SOS. We'll see, though. All right, he's starting to arc over here. He wants to have some of these Immortals soak up some of this damage. Time Warps do go down. The Archon's still coming up as Neeb's concave is beginning to arc around the lower concave here of SOS.
I like this fight for Neeb so far. His units are quite powerful.
Actually, I think he's got too many Archons.
Yeah, maybe a couple of them did just fall. Look at the Mothership, it's so low in HP, but in the end it does survive, and that is actually very good for SOS. He's going to clean it up.
GG.
Wow.
SOS takes game number 3.
That got close in the end. That got very, very close.
Whew. I got to say, this is such a great match. I'm really glad we're going to game 4. I love seeing these two guys play.
These Archon fight stages, it's
I
like
know.
all of them have like 10 HP. You're like, He actually has a beautiful concave right now, and then 4 of them disappear. It's like, okay, actually he's not that good anymore.
Well, it's kind of funny, right? Because it's subtle and it's hard to point out when it's actually happening live. But if you watch very carefully, you'll see them trying to juggle the Archons in and out of the front so that they can rotate damage before they're destroyed. So occasionally it looks like it's 5 Archons versus 5 Archons until one player microed slightly better, and then 4 die all at once.
Yeah, a really solid micro there by SOS in the end, because I think if that mothership gets kicked off, then suddenly it becomes much more of an awkward fight. He doesn't have, the extra little DPS. It does matter in finishing off units, because it has that bigger range as well from above. It was a tough hold there.
Yeah.
In the end, he did get the job done after sniping that Nexus before. A little bit surprised to see Neeb tap out immediately, but he's like, 3 base against 4. You know what? Let's just let it go.
Yeah, well, you got to keep in mind, in a best of 5, stamina is a factor here, right? I mean, these guys have had 3 really exhausting games, and we're going right into game number 4 right here, right now. Neeb versus SOS on the map, Newkirk Precinct.
This is an awesome series so far.
Yeah, I know. We really lucked out getting this cast, Roddy. In the bottom left, in the blue, from the USA, he is
Team Neeb.
He's got his anime hair going on.
He's played great so far, though. But this man, the right bottom side of Newkirk, is also playing an excellent series. He is staying alive. It is
Jin Air Green Wings, SOS.
It's funny, both these guys are so popular. You got Koreans cheering hard for SOS. You've got basically non-Koreans cheering hard here for Neeb. It's funny. These guys are so evenly matched, but I'm feeling like, especially with how good Neeb has been in the later part of the game, I feel like Neeb actually has the edge right now.
Yeah,
just overall in this matchup.
they're both playing at an incredibly high level, though. I just like small things like we just saw in Abyssal. What I love is that SOS keeps his Phoenixes at home because he knows there's an Oracle number 2. Neeb knows that SOS is keeping his Phoenixes at home, so he's keeping the Oracle at home as well. I love these mind games that never really, you don't see it because these units don't clash, but I love the way they're trying to outmaneuver each other, trying to out-tank each other. And it's just very close, man. Even that last game, supplies, it's very close. Numbers, it's very close. And at one point, you look at the numbers, it's like, okay, they're pretty much dead even. And Neeb's got +2 armor, but SOS has an extra base. Which way is this going to go? It's just an awesome series. Very, very enjoyable.
It's also something that's worth pointing out, too, is that this game could actually be one of our long ones on this map. It's one of these maps where if you look at just where the expansions are laid out, you can split this map in half easy. There's no shared expansion. There's no ambiguous expansion somewhere in the middle where we're like, we don't really know who that goes to. They might have to fight over that.
Tasteless, I think we might have a blessing. We almost never cast with each other.
No,
but
whenever we do, yeah, we really luck out.
We remember Bolt versus Strange of DreamHack
last
year. That's like, we got 6 games in a best of 5. This is pretty awesome.
I probably cast with Rotterdam twice a year or something. We end up getting paired, and then every time it happens, some insane series happens.
Yeah, these games have been super cool.
We will take full credit for these games being great. That's what we're trying to tell you guys. So
product of our own environment.
That's right. So the Adepts are coming out. We're going to have the moment where the Adepts are going to have to juke and jive around. Neeb is actually pressing forward here, passing those Adepts.
Small thing there. It's very odd to see 2 Adepts being split up early on. I think key is in general you want to keep them as close to each other as possible, so the shades are right on top of each other as well. But it seems like Neeb was not that worried about it. He feels that he has to move the probe, by the way. This is bad.
This is really bad.
This is bad for Neeb. It's really hard to kill 2 Adepts with only 2 Stalkers. Neeb is going to lose quite a few workers here. Does get the surround, which is very nice, but...
Yeah, this is a really good job here by SOS. But also, I got to be critical of Neeb. I mean, you're supposed to know that that's going to happen. You're supposed to get the pylon up to have it bounce out.
It was kind of bad, but it could have been a lot worse. 5 is like the absolute minimum I think you're ever going to lose there. Getting the trap on one of the Adepts was nice. SOS was a little distracted. You can see that he accidentally, I think at least, let that pylon finish up.
Oh, I think you are right.
Yeah,
but like, my God, my Adepts got it.
I mean, he's all right? He's got an economic advantage for himself. It's Stargate against Stargate once again. And I think this time maybe even Neeb might go for a Phoenix. Because Neeb spots the Stargate now, and I'd be so shocked. If you spot a Stargate and you still build an Oracle, I mean, then you're a madman. Neeb is a madman. This is insane.
Yeah, he likes his oracles, doesn't he?
Against Phoenix as well. He just feels that he can
I think
outmaneuver his
actually
opponent.
we occasionally get this with pro gamers where one guy just actually sees the matchup in a different way.
Yeah.
And everybody else is kind of repeating the same stuff and parodying it back and forth to each other. Neeb's looking at this and saying, no, this is fine. You can get an oracle. I really don't mind that he's getting phoenixes. I have a plan for this. And I think we're kind of, in some ways, being educated about that in this series.
Yep, I mean, Neeb is just showing us that even though there might be a Stargate and there might be Phoenixes, which is not the case, by the way, because this is actually the time that SOS opens up in an Oracle as well. As two Adepts once again make it into the main, this is ugly for Neeb. He's going to end up losing a few more workers. Good job there, avoiding the first overcharge. I mean, I like how SOS did this, though. He baits out 2 overcharges, which means that the Oracles could potentially do a lot of damage. Tasteless, this game is mad. They're both just killing each other's
Yeah,
workers.
this is a lot of damage being dished out here. It looks like the Oracle will not get away.
Nice.
Nobody was sure. We weren't sure. It just barely did not have enough HP there. But yeah, both these guys taking some serious blows here, losing these workers.
Yeah, now both of them get a Phoenix as well. It's like, okay, you've got an Oracle, I've got an Oracle, because the Oracles did see each other in the main of SOS. So now obviously Neeb is like, you know what, I might make my own life a little bit easier. At least he started a Phoenix. Did he cancel his Phoenix?
I don't see it out now. We'll probably get the unit tab up in a second, but yeah, I don't. No. There's one Phoenix here, but I don't know on the other side.
SOS definitely has. I
Yeah.
can only imagine that you want to have at least one Phoenix against Prisms, against Oracles. It just seems
Well,
so
it just
nice.
seems like not having one. I mean, it's so cheap. Why would you not just get one of those?
It's insane how sloppy and messy and bloody this game has been, and then you just look at the numbers. It's like, it's actually a pretty
completely
even game.
Yeah. When we saw the workers both get taken out, we checked down there, and there's one worker lead for a second there for SOS. All right, SOS beginning to pursue here.
I love this.
A Blink is going to finish before here for Neeb, but that was a really good play, getting the Stalkers in the front and then having the Oracle come in behind.
Exactly.
Just try to gun down some workers.
Just giving your Oracle slightly more opportunity to do a tiny bit more. Obviously, Neeb's reaction time was very fast because he's Neeb, and they're both just playing awesome. But I love that by SOS. He's like, hey, I'm coming for your Stalkers. I've got 4 Stalkers here. And Neeb is like looking at it, and on that moment, the Oracle flies in. They always set up their next play. It's not just they think like, okay, I have an Oracle, let's try to kill workers. They're like, no, you know, let's try to distract my opponent and then show up with the Oracle, which is
you know,
good stuff.
one thing that's really impressive about this is not all pre-planned, each of these attacks. A lot of this is them just going off of instinct. You know, seeing, okay, where did I see his army before, and what do I have at my disposal, and then coming in there and trying to do damage.
Tasteless. That is a pretty fast Prism this time for Neeb, and he's
Yeah.
also getting Blink, but he's taking one more Assimilator. That makes me wonder, well, what's the plan here?
You know, I mean, usually when you see the War Prism, they're going to use it right when it gets out, right? Otherwise, you could have made Immortals or something else and gotten the War Prism later. So we should expect him to try to move out and do something with that. It could be Harasser. He could be trying to reinforce an actual push. I mean, along with the War Prism, yeah, I was going to say 4 gates are finishing, so it seems like this is mapped out so that he can actually push pretty heavily here.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Blink Stalker attacks on Newkirk. I think it's very hard to pull it off. Maybe he's going to try to land a force field, but Neeb is actually going up to 3 base. I'm very happy to see that. I think that is the correct call. We're probably going to see Neeb get his own charge as well, since his Blink is done. And if you can get 4 Stalkers in the main or in any mineral line and you can kill a bunch of probes, that is awesome stuff. But I do think that Neeb needs to transition further. He's going to go into the high ground here. He wants to spot if there is a Nexus, which there is. Maybe he can get a pylon. He's going to try to Blink into the main, I think, with 4 Stalkers.
Okay, Neeb.
Oh, he missed the blink.
He bounced off the wall. He did not quite have the blink in the right spot. That's pretty unfortunate, especially since it seems like Neeb was actually gearing up to try to do some damage.
So he pulled the army out of position. Now he has a bunch of Stalkers here. But is he going to try to jump on top of this Immortal? Is he going to go for the main?
No, he's going to go for the main.
Sentries inside of
Yeah,
that?
yeah. He's going old school here. He's going to blink everything in here. Now, will he get the force field on the ramp?
Yeah, he does get it. He's going to get the pylon almost immediately as well. That's -2 gateways for SOS. But SOS does have Blink as well.
Oh my God! Right now, the Immortals unable to get up there. When you know, of course, that's the actual real counter there for the Stalkers. The 2 sentries have gone down. He might need 1 more sentry to warp in here. The Immortals are there, but no Stalkers. He gets a surround. The Immortals will go down. He continues to try to defend. It's not going to be enough. Probes coming in here. I think this is game, Roddy.
I think you're right, Tasteless. Neeb has killed 11 probes. The Oracle's going to help out as well. But with all of the Immortals down, with those gateways unpowered, that's it.
GG! Neeb wins this series 3-1. I can't believe this, Roddy.
I love it. What
We
a
knew there